So did anyone complete the homework from last week? Managed to do? Oh, okay, can. Never mind. Today is the answer review. Solution review. Okay. So let's recap. So what's done so far in your taxi app project? You have finished your user resource. You have also some of the basic user database operations done. So hopefully let's settle in with some of the basic things. Today objective will be to go through the homework, which is one more user resource web service that you need to implement with the database. Then we followed by the user pickup locations. So you focus on creating the user pickup location resource, the user pickup locations database operations, and then maybe we'll run through a bit of another possible user operation, which will be related to your test. Okay, so that one, line number 9, very important. Then we'll come up with another homework for you to work at home on. Okay, so let's see. So we'll have, so how much progress have we made? User. After this will be user pickup location. After that will be the taxi, estimated waiting time, and the stats. Authentication complete. So you are almost there. Okay lah, 1/4 of the journey already. Okay, so not too bad. So what was the homework? The homework was to create a resource under another web service under a user resource that does this: get one user based on ID. So get user based on ID, that's the homework, right? So in order to complete this this particular method here, let's start from the bottom, which is the user store. First, you need to have a method to return a user based on ID. So let's look at what we have. Right? We have a get all, add one, check if username exists, and then here's the template skeleton for get one user. Okay, so let's refresh our mind. Because your test will have some Java coding. Whether it's uppercase or lowercase, that one no fault. It's just whether you remember some of the libraries or not. Okay, but it's also very easy. I make sure that one line there means one line of code, and you don't go and write extra lines of code. Okay, because last time I used to give the student one full stack area to write for a 5-mark question. They write me essay until the next page, the blank space they also write. Okay, so every time you see a space in your test is meant for one answer. Is one answer. There's no two answers in one line. Okay, so how do we do get one user? So if you are brave enough, or you don't want to look at what's been done before, you want to try to recall from memory. Okay, so first thing in the database, before you can talk to the database, what do you need? What's the first thing you need? Before you talk to somebody on the phone, you must establish a connection. Okay, so I need a connection. Okay, connection. Okay, so connection. Where do I get a connection from? So we got this data connection, get connection class. Okay, so this is the first part. So the first thing you need is connection. So remember that in database you always need the first thing, the connection. And unfortunately in Java there's always a try and catch. Okay, because they want to make sure that you catch any database errors from somewhere and then print it out and then handle it. So within the try and catch segment, the block, after you get a connection, you need to, before you can write your SQL statement, you need to create a thing called statements. In this case, because you have a parameter between a statement and a prepared statement would be a better choice. So in the prepared statement, how do you obtain it? Well, there are two types of statements. One is from connection, you always can generate few statements. One is a proper normal statement. This is called a prepared statement. So in the prepared statement, connection includes this method called prepared statement, which only need one parameter, which is a SQL query. Okay, so who can tell me what's the SQL query for finding a user identified by ID? Select. Okay, select. What do I select from the column? Star from users. Okay, where user ID. Okay, let's try out. Is it user ID? Yeah, user underscore ID. Okay, so make sure you got the name correct. So prepared statement users question marks. So question marks in the prepared statement is the unique differentiator between that and the statement. The question mark allows you to set values based on index. So now that I have a prepared statement, I need to replace the question mark with a value coming from the parameter ID here. Therefore, then it will construct the actual statement with the ID. So here, I need to set something. Integer. Because user ID is an integer in the database, that's an integer. If the parameter is a string, then you do a set string. Index starts from 1, and then you put the ID value. Okay. Oh, long, sorry. So this should be integer. What is long and integer? Okay, difference between long and integer. Integer is 32 bits, long is 64 bits. So long can contain a bigger number. Integer it's a small number. So now you have connection, you have a prepared statement. You need to execute the query, and the query will return you, because you're running a query, you return your result set. So I'll type result set, result equals to statement, execute query. So in the result set, you always need to check that whether there are records or not. When anytime you get a result set from an execute query, always use a .next method to check if there are any records. So .next is like a pointer. When you first get a result, it doesn't point anywhere. When you say .next, you're asking it to point to the next available record. So here, if it's successful, then I need to create my user model, insert my new user model class, and then I start setting the values. So now you want to get values, you use the get methods. So like in this case, get string, first name. So whatever you type in the columns, you get string, get first name for string for first name, last name, and all those based on the type. Just make sure that you use the correct column name accordingly. So last name, so I'll get string, last name. Okay. So what you're doing here is essentially just trying to retrieve all the information for this one particular user. So here you just finish typing up all the various values. So user ID is an integer, so in that you will not use a get string but use a get integer. Type in the user ID. Okay, there are 5 values. So we have first name, last name. Yeah. So 5 values here. Okay. So here, since we're going to, this method will return a user model, change the void to user model. Okay, and normally what I'll do is actually, if I'm going to return a user model in the method, we normally declare this user variable at the beginning. Okay, I'll set it to null first. And then when I find something, I instance it. At the end of it, I don't just return the user. Normally I do this because it's easier to just have one return point. Now some developers may return it in the middle of the segment here. Okay, not necessarily a good idea, because what happens is that you have a try and catch. What if an error happens? So when the error happens, the method will not be able to return anything, and therefore there will be a problem. So the compiler will actually check, oh, if you were to have a return user in the middle here, right? What happens is that you check until you actually give you an error. It says that this method must return a result of type user model. Now, because based on this logic, when you look at this, you say there's a chance that if there's an error, your method won't return anything, especially when it hits the catch. Okay, so it's always best to have it at the end. But you can also ask, why can't I put the return user inside the catch statement? Okay, also not a good idea. So what happens if you do this? So basically, in the catch statement, you can't actually return anything. This is one part of the code that doesn't return data that doesn't exit from a function or method. So the only safe place to put a return, usually by my practice, will be at the end. That means at the very last line of the method, I will put a return. So I try to avoid putting any return something in the middle of the code. Yeah. So I know for sure there's always a return at the end. And whatever values you want to set, I set in the middle. So this is how you do your get user by ID. So what if there's no user matching the ID? Well, simply user return will be null. Then you can actually handle at the next layer. So now we are at the bottom layer, we're done with that. We go to the user service layer. There's a return here, right? So same thing. Since you know you're going to return a user model, change this to user model. Okay. Then you do a return store get ID. And of course also this is supposed to be integer. Change it to integer. Okay. So this is done. No logic here. Then now we go to the resources in user Java. So in the user Java, you have is get by ID. Okay, so change this to integer. And okay, so now you have an integer in your method in your resource. Means that you might likely to actually use a path parameter for this. So what I will do is add the path parameter here. So how will this look like? When you call this method, it will be like this, users followed by 1. So this is how you will call this method. Okay, that is because the resource is called users, and all you're adding on to the path is the ID of the parameter. Okay, so I also need to declare that this is a path parameter for the method. So I need to put an annotation, path param, okay, before ID, and then substitute it by the keyword ID here. So the ID here in path parameter needs to be the same as here, this, so that the Java compiler will know that when your request comes in for this method, based on this pattern, you will map this ID value to the parameter ID here. Now, how do I get the user? So declare a variable using user model. I get it from service with ID there. Okay. And then in the result, I will say, so this time because we're returning an object, use the generic entity. Okay. So generic entity needs you to tell it what type of data I'm returning. So I'm returning data user model type. Then I pass in the user. Okay. Then build. So here what happened is that your method wants users slash whatever ID that I have in the database, you return the data here. Okay, so right now I don't handle any issues yet, like now user not yet. So let me publish the code to Buzzfish. So here you can actually do a bit of fancy things, like if let's say the user return from the service is null, maybe you want to return a different status code instead of OK, because technically you don't have an object return, or return a message, let's say the user not found. So you can have a bit of creativity at this point to change or customize how you want to handle a non-user null user issue. So who did this method? Anybody did this method on your own? No. Okay. Can I ask why? Okay, never mind. I will ask why. Okay, so should I tell you what I have in the test? Okay, there will be some Java coding in the test. Some. Please pay attention to some of the Java coding today. Yeah, you write down. But I'll give you the line to write down. Not a lot to write down. Okay. Can. Okay, so started synchronize. Let's try. So let's test our get all users. Make sure everything's working. Okay. So now I'm gonna try to get a user based on the IDs here I have. So what do I have? I have user n234. Let's get user 7. Okay. So to get users, simply duplicate or can copy the URL from get all users. Create new tab here. Okay, so now to get one user, it's just simply adding the ID as a path parameter to the end of the URL and click send. Let's see what I get. See? So now I have user ID 7 based on ID 7. Okay, let's try because I never handled the null problem, right? User 700 doesn't exist. So what happened? Oh, error. Okay. So this is what happens if you don't handle null exceptions. Like an object is null, and try to create it. Java's topmost error 500, Java's topmost error report comes from this thing called null pointer exception. Means you're referring to a object that doesn't exist. Okay, so how do we handle this kind of thing rather than shows you error 500 and then it's quite ugly, right? Okay, let's come in the code. So I can check if user is not equal to null, I return the object. Else, now I make use of what I learned in web services about status codes. Instead of having it generate an error, I will now then say, okay, I will return a status code that is about things not found. Status code. So there is, if you type response dot, then you see a whole bunch of different statuses, right? So instead of remembering the number, Java is very nice, give you something like this. So you can see there's some things here that is conveniently done for you, so you don't need to enter a number, like no content. Okay, so you can actually say no content means there's nothing there. So if I decided to do that, then I'll say no content. Right. Then publish again. Hopefully that solves the error. Let's see. Yeah. So what's the error? Illegal argument exception. Entity must not be null. Okay. So that's one way. So as long as it's null, I'm not supposed to do this new generate entity. But since I decided to return a different status code, let's see what happens. Yep. So now I try to retrieve user 700, which doesn't exist. Instead of giving me an error message or a stack trace, I just return 204 no content. So it's really up to you how you want to handle the null exception. 204 is just one of the ways. There are many ways to do this. This is not necessarily the most correct way. You can also return a 404 and such. So when your Android app were to somehow maybe accidentally request for data that doesn't exist, you return a proper code, your Android can actually respond properly. Because what happens if the Android app receives a stack trace, like just now what you saw, the errors, most of the time you'll be difficult to find out what's wrong, and therefore you can't actually tell the user what's wrong. So this is get user by ID. Okay, so now we move to the proper things. So let's start making the user pickup locations. Okay, so every user who uses this app gets to define their own locations, like my home, my work, school, etc. And how do we start? So if you recall, how we started was we did top down. So we define a resource, what are the methods in web services. Then we went bottom up from the databases and all that. Okay, so now we create a new class, a new resource. We call it user pickup locations, or you can call it just pickup locations. Okay, because I'm going to type so long. So pickup locations is a resource a web service that allows your app to access a user locations. You can do adding, update, delete, and get all, and get one. So this is a lot of methods to write, right? Okay, so when you start off, because if you're familiar after a while, you can start importing it. So here is your Java X WS. WS stands for web services. Okay, so you have a lot of stuff. Okay, container and all that. Okay, so first thing is to define pickup locations path. How do you access pickup locations? Okay, so this is one way of accessing pickup locations. So let's do the basic first. So next one is to create the different methods that you handle. So I have add, add pickup location, right? Oh, should be a response. Okay, and I need to return response. Okay. Okay. Sometimes Java will try to suggest classes that you should use. Okay, let's see. This response is call. Okay. Let me be lazy. Okay. So I have an add. What other methods do I have? Update. So right now you can literally just almost mindlessly type out all the standard methods. Delete. Okay, but if you are, let's say you are a seasoned developer or you've been doing this for a while, sometimes what you encounter outside is that there are some libraries that will write all this for you, so you don't need to type so much. May not be in Java, but in other libraries. Okay, so I have okay. So you get the idea so far? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 methods here. The basic add, update, delete, get all, get. Okay. So let's establish some things, right? In add, first of all, it's a post method. In update, based on the textbook, it's a put. In delete, so now you start to write all the annotations in, right? Delete. Get all, it's a get. Get, it's a get. Okay. Are there other things to include? Yes, there are. For example, in your update, how do you update? So if I update pickup location, I need to provide an ID and the object. Okay, so this is one way of doing update. So here I will probably be expecting two things. One is the ID, and one other parameter is the actual object. Now in the delete, it'll be very straightforward too. Okay, so the URL will be something like this. Means that I have a path parameter for ID. Oh yeah, sorry, path parameter. So do also include your path parameters here. and as well as your path. Okay. So your path parameter is applicable for put, for delete. Yep, this thing goes there too. Okay, as well as your get, the part that gets one location details. Okay. So more or less here you have your with your web services, each of the method and the path parameter defined. Okay, so you have more. Okay, so let's see. Well, there are a few things missing. Of course, in the add, you'll be expecting to user to send a JSON version of the location they want to add into a database, as well as the put. Okay, and of course in the get, later you can use the same model to return back to the user in the app. So now we've done more or less the skeleton for the resources. Now we work backwards. So we start from the models. What am I going to return up to the top? Okay, so very similar to the user model, you can create a thing called pickup location model. Okay, so see the pattern now. So in the user pickup location model, what I would define here would be the attributes that can be found in my database. So let's refer to MySQL. Take a look at refresh your memory on what you have inside user pickup locations. So here you have ID, user ID, latitude, longitude, location name, date added, and category. So likewise, inside pickup location, you have very much all the same fields you have in the database. So let me set up the ID. So for latitude and longitude, because it's a decimal place value. Okay. So based on your database columns, just create your attributes for pickup location model, and then define the type as well. So latitude and longitude will be double. In ID and user ID will be integer. Now user ID here, integer is important because it needs to be the same type as how you store your user model. For location name will be string. Okay. Oh yeah, naming convention. Okay, what do I do here? Oh yes, I use this. Please try to follow the standard naming cases, camel case or Pascal case accordingly. Okay. So this one is called Pascal case because the first letter is capital, and every word is capitalized as well. Okay. Date time. This is the one I hate most. Okay. In Java, so we all did your basic Java. Do you all try date time? Do you all use a date time type? Yes. So which date time type do you use? Java util, right? Okay. Util.date. Okay, so in your Java, basic Java, you might have encountered this type called date under java.util. There's a bit of a difference between this version of date and the database date. Okay. Now, if you use this version of date, there's some conversion you need to do in order to store in the database and retrieve from the database. Because Java's version of date in the database, especially in MySQL, is different. Okay, let me do this. JavaSQL date. Yeah. So in another namespace, java.sql, there's also another date type. Okay, a bit confusing, right? Why they have two date types, right? Okay, so this date type is a bit different. This is a type of date time that is based around milliseconds, or we call it epoch. And you all remember the Y2K problem, right? So you all remember the Y2K problem, all the computers are supposed to crash when the 2-digit hit 00 after 99, right? 1999 to 2000. Okay, so that problem was due to the limitation in the memory allocated for date time. In this version of date time, there's also the same limitation, except that the number is bigger. So according to this date in Java and not all computer systems, they will calculate date based from 1970 1st of January. Okay, and you will actually have an end date by 2038. So by a certain date in 2038, the number will reset itself to 0 as well. Okay, so it will be not in our lifetime, it will happen again. Okay, so take note lah. So how do they calculate date time? Because time is supposed to be infinite, but in a computer sense, it cannot be because it must be finite. So they need to start. So they'll actually store number of milliseconds since this date, 1st of January 1970. So what it actually store is just milliseconds. But then to show it properly for us to understand, you can format it as date, time, and year, and also include the time zone aspect. Okay.
Quick question how your library like so many stuff mine
Okay.
for mine like nothing on it. Then I type out this thing then it's like there's error.
Wait, how? For date, right?
For this import file it's like
Java
loading.
still loading.
No, mine is like totally error.
Huh?
It's like they don't even suggest this library.
Don't have this library. But what about Java? Do you util? Do you have?
Java
Also don't have. So as I type all these things that come out.
Java YouTube got but then to the when I type the dates then don't have it.
Or once you type the date. Here is it like this? Okay, if you type util dot. Okay. So don't have this all these things here. Oh, okay. Your version of Eclipse Neon or Neon? You include later version should also have this as well. It's quite a basic feature in here. Okay. Does anyone face the same problem? Can you see?
There's the portion under the POM XML. The portion of the app, my SQL. So I try to run it, then out with this error.
For MySQL, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait for error, then later I show you.
Okay, later show me.
I don't know again with this problem.
Okay. Okay. So my suggestion here is to use SQL dot. How? Have already. Oh, how you uncover the magic fingers? Huh? Okay. Okay. So best suggestion in this case, I use SQL dot date. Right. Okay. So here, so since you declare imported the right date library, then date here will be okay. So date added. Then last one will be string. That's category. Okay. So this is your pickup location model, very basic. Mostly follow pick the database, straightforward. So now we have the model, we can actually work our way upwards. So we start from the users from the repository. So just like user store, you create a new Java class. You call it pickup location repository. So similar to the user store, you would concentrate all your SQL methods, database methods here. So let's say we have add, right? So maybe I return boolean add. So here when I add, I will need to provide a parameter. So what am I adding? I'm adding a pickup location. Okay. So complain that you don't have that, you just import it. Right. So let me set a result first. So my normal practice is always, if I'm going to return something, I will declare the variable upfront, first line, and then always put the return at the end, so that I decide in the middle what do I want to do. So since you're in a repository class where you need a database connection, of course here I will need to include private static data connection. Oh, actually I don't need to. Yeah, I don't need to do that. just need to do this. So connection data connection dot get connection. Okay, of course your complaint this one needs to be there. Fine. Do import. Okay. Oh yes, I do miss out something. Did I? Oh, because I use Java SQL connection. Right. Java.sql connection. Yeah. Please use the correct import correct library here. Okay. Try and catch again. Okay. So this part is add, right? So to add, what do I need to do? Statement or prepared statement? Okay. I have parameters to go in. Prepared statement, right? Okay. So let's use a prepared statement. Why? Because you need to do a insert statement that has a lot of parameters to go in, like user ID, latitude, location name, they added category. So from the connection, I prepare a statement and then I write my SQL. So in this SQL statement, it will be insert into user pick up locations. Okay. So what do you write from here? Firstly, the columns, right? What you want to insert. So we're going to insert user ID. Move this a bit in. Okay, we'll insert user ID, latitude, longitude, location name. So you realize that I am following the database schema, the columns I want to insert. Now I only insert everything except for ID. Okay, so here are my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns that I want to insert into my user pickup locations. So in your insert command, you type this, you need to specify the values. So you need to key in the word values, followed by the open and close round brackets. And then because I have 5 values or 6 values to insert, therefore I have a 6 question marks. Okay. Prepare statement, make sure it's imported from Java SQL. Okay. So at this point in time, I'm going to need to set values. So according to the order of my columns, I need to set the different values. So set integer for first value is user ID. So location. So here I'm simply just setting the different values here, like latitude is double, so I set double 2. So if your IntelliSense is enabled, you can see that it will help you with all the queues. So you don't need to key in everything. So you make sure you set everything properly. Quite boring, oh. Yeah.
Practice your language.
Yes. Because you will type a lot of things, the same things over again, like connection, con equal data connection, get connection, try and catch. Statement set integer, set string, set double, get integer, get double, that get string. So yeah, it's all the typing power now. Okay. This is the part where your brain can switch off a bit, then you just type. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 6 values. Okay, remember after you do this, must execute the statement. Otherwise, okay. So to run the SQL statement for adding in, right, simply run execute. Okay, as simple as that. Now, so I'm gonna do a bit of googling to show you something. Because when you insert a location, often or not, sometimes we want to know what's the ID of the record that was inserted. Okay, so there's this thing called there's this method in Java and SQL to retrieve the last ID that was inserted. So if you want to retrieve, oh, I just inserted a location, now I want to know what was inserted, I can actually get ID back. Okay, so that is one way to get back what you have inserted. The other way is just to get all user pickup location, and you can see it there. Okay, so for now, we just do a simple one. Execute, we just run a SQL query. Okay, and then that's it. This is my add location. Okay. So here, obviously, we're not checking, that the location is duplicate, is it unique or not, because, yeah, I think based on the longitude, it's a bit difficult to check. So we do that, even allow the user to add duplicate names of your location if they want to. Doesn't matter. Okay. So that's done. Now, so we have one method for add. So we move our way up again, go to services. So in the services is your so-called place where you have business logic. Now I need to create a class called pickup location service. Pickup location service would need to have a private variable to your pickup. Oh, maybe I should use let me delete that. I want my names to be consistent because my U is uppercase. Pickup location service. Okay, so let's see. What I need here is a way to call the data connection class. So private pickup location repository. So I call it store. Oh wait, did I call this? Okay. Pardon me. I realized I named it differently. Yeah. Okay, so this is one thing I hate about Eclipse. If I name a class wrongly, I cannot just change the name here. Yeah, because they call it user store, right? So I should call it pickup location store. But then here the file name cannot change. So what I normally do if I change the file name, I Control A, copy everything, delete this guy. Sorry, I just want my names to be consistent. Okay. Paste. Okay, yeah. So now back to normal. Okay, so call it pickup location store. Sorry, store, not repository. Okay. First method here will be of course add again, and again. Okay, so here is discover that your IntelliSense is very helpful. It helps you type in a lot of things. Okay. Go to pickup location in the add method. Okay. So here same thing. Oh, wait, did I do? Oh yes, I'm supposed to new. Yeah. Location store. Okay. In the locations to be private. Here will be this one goes to service.add. Okay, so add location. Now I need to have the parameter here. So pick up location. This one, make sure I reference to import the model. Okay, so I return result. And yep, that's your add pickup location. So here comes a very boring part. Repeat the do mostly the same steps for the rest of them. Okay, so with very slight differences, like the SQL query is SQL that you write will be different for each of them. Okay, so shall I do something a bit more interesting? So your put, which is updating. Okay, so in the put method, when you do a replacement, not just an ID you'll be sending as a path parameter, you also send the object. Okay, so that means you have one more parameter, which is a pick up location model. So when you do a Postman or your Android app were to do a post to update the location, when the user say I want to update the name, you will probably send everything over here in the part of the request body. Means this guy would consumes JSON data. Okay. So now let's work backwards again. What do we need when we update location? There's an ID and there's a model. So let's go to pick up locations, Java, the store. So here's the database part. Create a new method. Call it update. Maybe this time we'll still return a boolean, true or false. Maybe you can update that later. Okay, so a lot of the parts will be quite similar. Okay, oh sorry. Please remember to set true if everything succeeded. Okay. So I return result. And yeah, this part will guess what, you can actually copy this whole thing. Copy and paste over here. Yeah, because I'm very lazy. You know? It's because most of the things here will be the same. Most of it. Okay, if not all. Why? First of all, I will still need to set all the things like user ID, latitude, longitude, location name, the added category. I still need to set all these things. But my statement will be different. Okay. So in the statement, I'm going to remove this. So in the statement, what is going to happen is I'm going to run the update statement. So the update statement in SQL is update. Update what? User pick up locations set. Then here's the part where I say I want to set certain different values. Okay. So I can set user ID equals to this, latitude equals to this, longitude equals to this. So everything separated by the comma. Location name equals to this. Date added equals to, okay, so date added. Do you want to change the date added because it means when you added it? So maybe not the date added. I don't want to change the date added. Okay, take that away. Category, okay, possible. The person might change the category, like the Comfort Taxi app. When you define location, you can change the category, right? So now I have my set. I set user ID, I set latitude, I set longitude, location in category. As a condition, because user pickup location is tied to the user, so or tied to ID. So where the ID is equals to this. Okay. So this is a very basic. Just replacing everything except for the added based on ID. Now, okay, here you have the question marks, right? Same principle applies. The order of the question mark will determine the order when you do a set methods here. So the first one is user ID, correct. Second is latitude, longitude. Location name is number 3. So location name is yes number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Category is 5. So change it to 5. And my 6th parameter, where ID equal question mark, that's my 6th parameter. So that is my ID. So remember to set the integer for that 6 parameter, which is your location ID. Okay, so if all else works, yep, this will be fine. Now I'll go back to the service, sort or repeat the same thing again. Okay, so this is the update method. I pass in the first parameter is ID, second parameter is the supermodel. Okay. So you know what's the next step? I got my date store services come up here, resources. In the update here, so within result equals to service.update. So ID and location, response with the result. Okay. Now, do you want to do the delete on your own? Okay, or shall we move to something more interesting? Pagination. Okay, so just now when we look at yes, the last round we look at users, there wasn't any pagination method. Okay, but here there's a chance because you have a get all method. So assuming the user may create a crazy number of locations, you may paginate it. So you could paginate the user locations. So in the get all method, when you do pagination, so I'm going to skip the delete first, because it's quite straightforward. So in the pagination, you have two parameters that you use, page size and page number. Okay, and also the return type tends to have the links to next and previous. Now that will mean that the data returned here would be a bit different from how users get users would look like. Okay, so let's do pagination. So in the pagination version in the resource web service, I'll have page number. So let me just put page number and page size. Okay. Now there are a few ways of doing this. So okay, so I'm going to talk about if you're admin person managing this app. Okay, tend to have a get all user, get all location, and then you sort it by this and that. But in your Android app, the user can only see his or her own location. So in terms of the user, when you say get all, you just return the user's so-called locations. So how do you do that in terms of here? Very simple. You can either have one more parameter for user ID, okay, or you can park a method inside users resources. So this part can be a little bit different. So let's see, if I want to say get the location by user ID here with a user ID, page number, and page size, I would think about the design of the API. Now, would I want users to get their location based on this? Okay, so remember here is called pickup locations, right? So the first one is this. Post is nothing. Put and delete is this. But I want to get based on user ID, I'll have users one pickup locations. Okay. So maybe here I say get all by user. Okay, to be very clear that this requires the user's ID to be as a path parameter. So here I can say page equals to something and page size equals to something like that. So this is how I intend for this web service to work, to function. So the way I want my Android app to talk to this is to send in the user ID followed by page number and page size. That means my path would be users / user ID followed by. Okay, let me reiterate. Because this thing starts from pickup locations, right? Means I cannot do this. I actually have to do this. So far you understand why I need to do this like this way, pick up location first. So if I design my API as pick up locations, users, one followed by this, then you look like that. Now the problem with this method is that my users is going to may conflict with the get one location, which will look like this. Okay. So between this method here, pick a location slash users and pick a location followed by ID, there might be a conflict. So what, in terms of how you want to do this query, okay, no need to have a headache. Normally what you can do is move this method into the users repository. Okay. So in the users repository, you can then have it done like this. Okay, why this way? Because you start, in terms of context or design, it's like a folder. So folder users folder 1, inside the folder 1 has this subfolder called pickup locations. Then inside there is all your pickup location files. So if you think of it that way, then it's right to put it here. Okay, which means you here somewhere you need to have an internal pickup location service. Okay, so I'm not trying to say this is the only way to do this, but just one of the different ways you want to structure. You can structure your web services. And let's say you meet this problem of I have a users, I have another object, I want to put the object under a users or under another folder name. You know, this is how you can do it. There's no problem with this code. Then what about here? So what happens to a get all? If I have a get all and configure locations. Now the get all pickup locations here might not be used by the Android app, but it could be used by so-called admin application behind, like a back office. Yeah. So in this case, maybe we don't have a get all at all. So no get all, just leave it to users. Get by user ID. Okay. So I have user ID, I have page number, page size. So remember for user ID, you need to set it as a path parameter again. Make sure it has the same name. Okay. For page number and page size, it's not a path parameter, it's a query parameter. So you use this query param. Then, because it's going to pick up based on the name, I'm going to call it page. And then for page size, call it page size. Okay. So by having the annotation query parameter here and defining what key to look for, when the request comes in like this, it will automatically assign the value 1 from page into page number, the value 10 from page size into page size. So you need to make sure that this name in the query parameter coincides with how you want to send the data across. Now so far for all these methods, I think I'm maybe missing a few things, like the update. In the update method, let's see, pickup location. So pickup location, I think I'm missing something. So in pickup location, I think I missed out in terms of adding consumes, right? Go back to users. So in terms of get, the reverse. So what will we return? Application JSON data. Okay. Okay, user is this one as well. Okay, so now I need to go backwards to the repository pickup location store and write a method for returning pickup location based on page. Okay, so when I return this, I can create an array list of pickup location. So get pickup locations by user. So this method in the database level will return pickup location based on the user ID. Okay, also has a page. and a page size. Okay, so as always, my practice, I will define what I want to return first. Because it's array list, then I will instance the thing. And the last line, I will return the locations. Okay, array list, you need to, of course, include to import. Okay. So in the middle here is where I will get a connection. So data, not date. And then I try and catch again. Oh, capital G. Okay, so for pagination and database level, there are a few steps. So in order to return pagination, you need to find out where the record will start from. Okay, so if I say I want page 3 with page size 30, or page 3 page size 10, which record should I start from? Page 3 page size 10, so which record should I start from?
Our record starts from 0.
Yes, always start. No, database will always start from 0. 30, right? Okay, 30. So if I want page 5, page size 5.
25.
Yeah, 25. Okay, so your starting from index is important because that's one of the parameters you need for a database query, followed by how many records you want to fetch. Okay. So let's do a very basic page and page size first. Okay, you may also run into a problem where the user requests for a page that doesn't exist. Okay, let's do something in SQL. So let me retrieve. Okay, I think the table that I have most data will be the taxi movement. Yeah. Okay. How many rows do I have? Oh, 1,000 rows. Okay. So let's say I want to retrieve from taxi movement data, which I have a lot of data to play around with. I want to retrieve based on paging. So let's do a bit of practice here. So if you go to your MySQL workbench and try to key in this, let's start from taxi movement data. It will restrict you to 1,000 records because it doesn't want to overload database. I can also do the restriction on my own by typing the keyword limit. Okay. So limit actually is a parameter to do paging. So if I say limit 4, 10, okay. So what happens? It will fetch me 10 records starting from the fourth record onwards. Okay, fourth record means ID, assuming the ID was inserted incrementally, right? It will be ID 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So start from 5 onwards. The ID is 1 will be 5. Yeah. So if you try limit 5, 5, like just now asking if I want to fetch page number 5, page size 5, I'll get 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If I want the first page, I will say instead of limit 1, it needs to be limit 0 because I start from page 0 record. Then ID will be 1. Okay. So the number here that you need to send in will be based on your parameters. One you need to calculate, the other one not. What if you try to fetch something that doesn't exist? So before I want to try to fetch something that doesn't exist, let me try to figure out how many records are there in taxi movement. Okay, So select count star will calculate the number of records that are there in taxi movement. 1. Why? 1. Oh, okay. From. Okay, so there are 1,429 records inside this table. Okay, for sure. So as I start from 1430. Okay, what will happen? Will it give me an error? No, just give me nothing. Okay, so if you happen to try to retrieve a page that doesn't exist, okay, no worries, no error from database. It will not return you anything. Okay, so for a very basic pagination where you have, you need to allow the user to query by page. You need this part. But then you also, if you want to allow a user to click to a next and previous, provided that your return is that, then you need to do a bit more. So let's do the first part, just retrieving based on page and page size. So same thing again, because there are parameters, I'll create a prepare statement. And the SQL query will be to do a select star from user pick up locations. Okay, I have a condition, user ID. Okay, so where do you put a limit? The limit keyword is always after your criteria. So limit question mark question mark. Okay, I think that's supposed to work. So now I do a set integer. So user ID is my first parameter. Oh, 1 user ID. Okay, then I need to set my second parameter, which is my page. Now, so instead of page, I should say start from. So the question is, where do I start from? Sorry, it's 2, start from. Then the third parameter will be the page size. That one don't need to calculate, just use page size. Okay, so start from is a value that I need to calculate beforehand. Okay, so let's set a variable here called start from. So typically, if you say page begins from 0, then you can just do this page times page size. Okay. However, if your page starts from 1, then you need to do page minus 1 times page size. Yeah, so that 1 minus 1 0 times page size will start from 0. Okay. So that's assuming your page starts from 1 instead of 0. Okay. So this is how you set up the values. So this will effectively allow your drive to query the user page location by pages and page size. Okay, only one part of this. So just like when we retrieve users, you need to get a result set from the statement, execute query. Okay, and because it's going to be a list that we're going to put inside locations, right? So I will need to port this guy. Use a while loop. So do you know why I use a while loop for this? Multiple pages, multiple records until I reach the end of the records. That's when next will return me false instead. So okay, this part will be boring again. Oh, so every record that you retrieve, you need to do this. Get integer. Okay, so typing competition again. Okay, instead of 1, I should use ID. Yeah. Okay, so you can spend the next few minutes trying to type this out. See who's the fastest one. Yeah. Okay, for latitude and longitude, you naturally will say get double. And for the parameter in get string get double, make sure it follows the name of the column in the data in the table. After you have set all the get all the values and put it in your object for location, please remember to add them into the locations list. Hello, welcome to typing 101. Okay. Yeah, this is a typing class. So see how fast you can type the code. Anyone finish typing already? Okay, so if you're not type, you not type a lot, this will be the class to type a lot. When you're doing your assignment too. Okay. So please take note, when I've done this method, now at this point is not the final version of this method, okay? Because it doesn't have the full expectation of the pagination yet. Okay. So let's settle this part. Pick up location store. So you have typed finish the thing. You actually make sure you add location to locations array list, and of course at the end is returned. Now we go back to the service, pick up location service. So in the pickup location service, okay, now in the pickup location service, I will do something different. So let me construct something first. So okay, type notepad. So we call pagination. When pagination occurs, because we want the app to be able to go to the next and previous. Okay, so remember there's a link in your data that goes to next and previous, like your URL, right? Then you automatically put the next number. Then if you don't have next page, your next will be empty. So let's look at the JSON object. So you have your data, right? The data, normally you just call it data, will be your array, the actual information you want to return. And then you have a next, okay, which is a URL, okay? And then you have your previous. So this is the very basic pagination that will be expected when you do this. More fancy ones, some places have total pages. Okay, some even more fancy total records. That tell you how many records retrieved. Okay, let's see. Another even fancy one is pages. They give you a list of pages that you can actually call. So pages is an array list, is an array of URLs for each page. So never mind, we're not doing so fancy, so just leave it next to previous. So in order to create this, you need to have a Java object that has this attribute. Okay, so let's go to models. So what I'm going to do is that I'll use the pickup location store just to return me data, but I'll use the services to make a nicer version of data for me to use. So let me go to models and create a new class. So call it paged pickup locations. So in the page pickup location, it will be very similar to how I was writing the JSON structure. So I'll have an array list, location. Yeah, see, recording.
Better say halfway.
You are gonna cry soon, is it? Type so much, you will fall still already.
Lost it, yeah.
Okay.
It's not the mouse very fast.
The mouse not moving. Okay, so okay, yeah. How many letters can you type per minute?
No, all my class got a cross street color.
Okay,
Only complete.
incomplete. Type halfway incomplete.
No, yeah, it's okay.
Okay, should I still continue?
Yeah. We don't want to stop you, yeah.
Video must on. Don't stop working.
Okay, no, this is still quite okay lah. Okay, so page pickup location is where I will store data, which will be the actual locations. Next and previous will be the URL to go next and previous. So in order to have this thing like filled up, right, I will need to know a few things. Let's go to the service. Okay, so I'll give you a real life example. If let's say you're in a shopping mall and the shopping mall is very weird, you only have one lane, one way. You can either go forward or backward. Okay, so you either go forward and see what's the next 5 shops, okay, or you go backward and see what's the previous 5 shops. Now when you first enter the mall, you will see your 5 shops. Then you take another step, you see another 5 shops again. Okay, so if you want to skip the shops, okay, if you want to know if the next step is the last step, the end of the mall, right, you need to know how many shops are there in total. Okay, so there's one more method we need here is to find out how many locations there are first. Then based on the page number and page size, does our start from fall within the range or not of the number of locations. If it's out of the range, that means I don't have a next. Okay, so that's why you need another method here to actually make the pagination work. So if in my service method, I'll have a return paged pick up location. Okay, get location, get pick up locations by user. So here I still have the same thing of page and page size.
Your package one, why is the taxi app services not modern? The top one.
This one.
This one to be
Oh, should be model, right? Model. Yeah, it complained again.
I don't know.
Correct. Okay, so I will set up the object here first. Okay, now in this case, when I initialize the page pickup location model, instead of leaving it now, I will instance it.
Services or model, they want
I put a star so I can retrieve both, use both.
the top one, the package.
Package, so this is services. Services will be like the logic, if I have any business logic, like checking if duplicate things, or maybe user cannot add more than 10 location, that kind of stuff. Then I'll do a checking here. Okay, so here I will create a new model class, instance it, then return the model. Okay, so at this point, the idea is that if there is data, then this one will come back with data that has a list, next and previous, depending on which page I ask for. Okay, so in any case, this is never a null value. But so in when you have this constructor, so there's a default constructor for your Java object, right? You guys know, right? So if I don't write any constructor here, there will be an automatically constructor for this guy. So I want to override the constructor. Why? Because when I create a new version or new instance of this, I want to make sure that my array list data has a list inside but no elements. If I don't do this, what happens is that data will have a value of null, okay, which will be a problem when I return it. Okay, so same thing for next and previous. I'll just initialize them to empty strings first. So in the case of your Android app, when it calls this method to get page location, when it receives the data, it can check, oh, if next is empty, then I don't show the user a next button. Okay. So now that's settled. I come back to here. So first step is to check if there is a next page. And then check if there is a previous page. Again, I get the data. Okay, so the get the data is very simple. It's already written. You have the function, right? So let's just get the data first. Data will be store get by user ID. Okay. So this part is done, getting data. But the next and previous link is not there yet because I need to do a bit of calculation. So for previous, it's very straightforward. As long as you're so if you're on the first page, right, you don't have a previous. Anywhere else, you will definitely have a previous. Correct? Okay. So that one's straightforward. So previous. Now, so in order for previous to work, so the idea is that, okay, so you need to provide a URL here. So let's say if it works, then I have user, right, plus the user ID. So here's a bit of construction of the URL. Pick up locations. Okay. Page will be equal to, okay, previous page, which I need to calculate, and page size is equal to the same page size value here. Okay, so let's calculate previous page. Previous page will always be page -1. Okay, but I need to check. This will only happen if page is more than 1. So if my page is 0, previous will be empty string. If my page is 1, page previous will be empty string. And page is 2, then you will have a URL to go to the page number 1. Follow me so far? Okay. Now next page. Get total records first. Total record count. Okay. So if then get start from. If start from is less than the total record count, there's a next page. Sorry, if start from plus page size. Yeah. Okay, so what am I trying to do here? Okay, let's say there are 100 records. Okay, page size is 10, and I'm requesting for page 11. So 11 times 10, that's 110. So I'm going to start picking records from 110, and 10 records later, that's 120. But my total record is only 100. So there wouldn't be a next. In fact, it will be empty. Now let's say you happen to be at the last page, which is at page 9. So I'm taking from page 90, record 90 onwards. I take out 10. So technically, my last record will be 100. So there won't be a next page as well. So this is the part you need to calculate whether your next will exist or not. Follow me so far? 了解 Okay, so if you have 100 records, okay, then ask for page 9. Okay, page size is 10. Okay, so that means my start from will be 9 times 10 90. Start from record 90. Okay, so would there be a next page if I'm at page 9? Test question or? 100 records. 100 records. No next page lah, right? Okay. Yeah. So you know how to calculate, right? Okay, can. Okay, because a test I will ask this kind of question. Okay, so in order to calculate, I need the total number of records. So let's see. Wait, what happened to my? So let's add one more method under pickup location. So return recount. So get total, get location count. So I'm going to get location count by user because the query has to filter down by the user ID. Okay, so user ID. So same thing. Set the count to 0. Return the count after at the end. Try and catch again. Okay, get a connection first. Set our prepared statement. And MySQL query. Okay, so far you've seen select, insert, update, delete. Okay, now you will come across a function called count. So in order to count the number of records in your database without returning them and then do a count in memory, you can use this function called count. So MySQL or any other database usually have this function called count. Inside the count, you can either put in a star, that means anything, or a column. Doesn't really matter. From. So what count will do is based on your criteria, it will tell you how many records exist. So here I will say my user ID is equal to. Okay, so let's set the values first. One parameter only, user ID, and then need to execute. Okay, so now let's take a look at the execute function. SQL query returns you a result set. Okay. Now in this case, what I will get back will be a number. Okay, in some database libraries, right, they have this thing called execute Scala. Okay, Scala. Okay, let's go execute Scala. Okay, so if you've done some databases, other databases before, there's this thing called execute Scala. So what does that do? Executes a query, returns the first column of the first row in the result set followed by a query. Extra columns are rows and ignored. Or rather, what it means is that when you use this execute scalar, it will return you one single value, not a table. Okay, so the one single value can be integer, string, or so. Okay. Now it depends on what library you're using. The one I'm looking at here is a .NET library, so it has this function. In the Java version, let's see, yeah. So you use IntelliSense to find out what you have, right? Apparently there is no, yeah, I don't think there is one here. You still get a result set. So no matter how you do it, you will always have a result set. Okay, it's a bit weird, huh? Okay, so let's go Java. So let's say you have a single value. In this case, the person tried to do a count. Okay. So the person tried to do a count from this whatever table, right? Okay. Now, if you're trying to do this, that means the person try to just return the value out. Okay. Most likely you'll get a problem. Okay. So what you need to do is basically you still need to do a dot next, and then from there get a value back. So let's try that. So you're going to check because okay, the difference between this execute query where you must check result.next and the other version. Okay, let me think. You still need to do a next because technically it try to force it to be a table. So I will need to do a check again. Doesn't make sense, but yeah. So now I do a set, sorry, integer, column index 1. Okay. Why do I say 1 instead of specifying a table column name? In actual case, because let me see what happens here. Okay, let's go with this example. Okay, so what happened in this example, you can take a look at Workbench. Workbench is the closest relation I can say to Java because it's done in Java anyway. The count actually comes back as a table data, except there's only got one column and one row. Yep. So regardless how you look at it, right? If I want to retrieve a single value from here, I still need to do a dot next, and then after that I do a get integer 1. Yeah, because there's only one column there. So to get integer 1, I will just assign back the count, and here I'll return the count. So now I'll come back to my service. Okay, so let me check. So what's my total record? Total records, record count. I will get it from the store. Get location count by user. Pass the user ID. Okay, and I need to do my start from again. Will be page. Because I'm starting from 1, right? So page minus 1 times page size. Okay, then I'll check. If start from plus the page size is less than total record count, then I will have my next. So here I can set model.next will be equal to users next page. Okay. So what is the value of next page? I set it inside here. Next page equals to page plus 1. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. So now I have my next and previous when I get the pickup locations by paged. Okay, finally come back to the resources. Okay, so oh yes, in the users. So in the users here, Now, because I'm returning a different object, it's not a array list. So what we're using is this guy, pick a location model. So make sure I call the correct service. So user ID, passing user ID here, page and page size, page number. Oh, wrong model. Should be paged. Okay. Okay. Here, same thing as the entity. New generic. Okay. Right. So let's see. I have an add, update, get by user. Okay. So let's publish. Okay. So I'm gonna do a add, create a new tab to be a post. So now try to add pickup locations. Body wise, change it to JSON, application JSON. So here we'll have. So let's look at. So this is a bit of a reverse. So I need to add a pickup location. So I need to refer to the model here. So here will be user ID. So I just put 1. Attitude is 1.3. Okay. So let me see if I try add this, what happens. Okay. False. What happened? Empty field, eh? Yeah. Very likely there is an empty field. Let's take a look at the console. Any errors? Oh. No errors because I didn't go and write the console print line. Yeah. So likely what happened was date added wasn't there. That's why. So let's save. Let's say your Android app decides what the date added. Let's try this. True. Okay. So let's let's try to do a get. So now I'm gonna get locations. Now because my get is by user, right? So I need to do users first, one, then this. Okay, 20 page. Better, right? This was before, existed before. This is the one I just added. Ah, correct, because I don't have next page. 10 right? Okay, so far working. Okay, let's try the put method. So the put method will look very similar to the post, except that you have an ID here. Okay, let's choose one, maybe the previous one, ID 1. Okay. The request body will be similar to the post. Raw, JSON data. Okay, so now instead of location name, I'll change to SP Global. Review. Now, should I have the added? Let's keep it there and see what happens. Okay, true means it worked, Get the data back. Okay, even though I gave a date added, it didn't change here because in SQL statement I actually excluded updating this. Now, what if I remove the date added? Still works, right? Let's do a get. Yeah, still works. So it's flexible enough for you to drop the property without getting a problem. So only send what you need to change because you know, okay, so you know for sure your updating fields will change these few items and then just based on that. Okay, so post works, get page works, apparently update works. Okay. Shall I take a break?
Save the file.
Oh, save the file, yes, I should save the file, right. Okay.